I have this one memory that I always think about when I start questioning the world that we live in and the way that we do things. And it's my teacher asking my class in primary school, what we wanted to be when we grow up. And I think over 60% answered they wanted to be a dolphin trainer. Well, that got me kind of worried, looking at our dolphin population here in Holland. So when I got home, I asked my parents, so who's keeping the list? Like, obviously the list in which we state how many firemen and nurses and doctors we need. And finding out there were no such lists got me wondering. Because up until that day, I thought that grown-ups understood and also controlled everything. And realizing that they may not gave me quite a rebellious feeling that I fortunately still have. May I ask, who of you had such an epiphany in childhood, like, ooh, grown-ups don't have it all under control? Yeah. So a lot of us as kids, we know, okay, so we don't have it all under control, and it's fine, because we don't get worried by it. We just think, okay, let's go with it. And then I started to work, and I entered the grown-up world. And I realized that grown-ups themselves are behaving according to a lot of regulations and rules. And we do that as if we are controlling everything. And that got me worried, because we also seem to collectively ignore the fact that most of our rules and regulations, or some of our rules and regulations, are outdated or untrue. And it's that feeling that you get when you state on the internet that you have read and agreed upon the terms and conditions. That feeling, we ignore it. And that's worrying. So we also get ourselves to behave according to these rules and regulations by telling each other, well, yeah, that's how we've done it for years, and they have thought about it, so just do it. Well, I'm wondering, who is they, who are they, and what do they think about exactly? Because, for instance, they thought about student loans. So when I started studying, I was told that I could easily get a student loan because I was going into higher education and I would be able to pay it back later in life. In 2011, I got my degree and the crisis had hit. So it was not that easy to get a job. And for the ones of us that did get a job, the payments were not as high as they told us before. So what was told to us to be very normal and okay to do turned out to be really a bad return of investment. Then I was turned down for 2 jobs, and I thought, well, I'm going to start out and work for myself. And I'm going to call it organization development, and I will focus on education. And my peers and also my coaches told me that was a very risky thing to do, because I had no certainties. I had to earn my own money, I had to find clients. Fortunately, I found some programmers that wanted to work with me, but it was a risky thing to do. And I stayed in contact with my peers that first year, and they got normal jobs. They were safe because they had contracts. And over that first year, they felt more and more safe because their contracts became long-term contracts. And after a few months, my business started working out okay. But still they thought I was doing a very risky thing. And then one of them called me and told me that his company had gone bankrupt and that his boss had told them that he would make a restart but that the young consultants couldn't come along. And also that, because of the contracts that they signed, they couldn't be in contact with any of the clients that they had worked with before. So in one day, he had no network, no job, no certainty. I, on the other hand, had been working with several social entrepreneurs, and we had a new idea, and we called it No School. Because what we thought is, hey, schools have to develop, like everyone has, but they cannot because they have no space to experiment. And experiment is giving us the energy and the ideas to go on. So we decided to set up No School, and what we did is we went to schools and we asked for the limited free space that they have. And together with the teachers that were daring to explore, we invited a lot of other people into the schools, and we set up experiments, and we did those experiments various times. From primary school to higher education, doesn't matter. And we don't say anything about what we're going to do, because that's what we think about together. And some things work, and some things don't, and we share that online. And we have only one rule when we start out, and sometimes it's a week, sometimes it's a day, but we always tell the students, doesn't matter if they're like this or that, or how smart they are apparently. We always tell them, if we cannot tell you why you have to do something, you don't have to do it. That's our basic rule. And that makes that they think, oh, so rules are not there to annoy us. They're there for a reason. And it also makes them question the rules. So they are looking for the value behind those rules. And I will give you an example of that. Like, for one experiment, we thought, okay, so we need groups. So we were thinking about the groups, and we said, okay, do we have to let them make their own groups, or are we making the groups? And we decided that we would make the groups because we were scared that some of the kids would be left out. And when we told them, so these are the groups, they said, why did you make the groups? You don't even know us. We know ourselves, we know our relationships. Why did you make the groups? So we had to tell them. So we said we were scared that some of you would be left out. And then they said, oh, okay, but just tell us. And they made the groups themselves, and they made sure that everyone was included. So this is a simple way in which you can see that this rule is working. In the world that we live in today, this ever-changing world, every set rule or regulation is by anticipation outdated. And we see that because we start to find out more and more that we're limited in controlling the world. And also that the rules and regulations don't keep us safe like they used to, or like we felt they used to. So what can we do with this? Well, the first thing that we have to do, and we've done it for thousands of years, so we can do it, is accept that life itself is a risky undertaking. And the second thing that we have to do is question ourselves, our systems, and each other, time and again. And the way we have to do it is like kids. They are asking simple questions. 4-year-olds are asking 400 questions a day. And the moment that we grew up, the moment that we started to behave, is the moment that we stopped asking the simple questions like, why do we have to work? Why do we have to eat? Why do we have to go to school? Maybe you think this is childish. I think it's the only lifeline that we have in this ever-changing world. Last month, I met my class of primary school again at the reunion, and none of them has become a dolphin trainer. Yet. because with climate changing, we will never know, we might have been foresighted. Thank you.